Hello and welcome back to part 2 for topic 2, software and software development. This is OCR AS A-Level Computer Science. Okay, so we're doing the workbook answers. As you can see here, software and software development, we're covering software, application generation, software development, types of programming language. As you can see here, there's 5 different parts in the book. So we are doing questions 18 all the way through to question 32. Some of these questions range from 1 mark all the way up to 10 mark questions. Okay, so let's get started. Last time we looked at the waterfall model. Now we're going to move on to spiral model. Okay, the spiral model in terms of developing a computer program. So give one benefit and one drawback of the spiral model. Well, what's the difference? Think of this as baking a cake, but instead of sort of following the waterfall method where we sort of did one step at a time in terms of a recipe for baking the cake, you might try different versions of the recipe to make sure it turns out right. You bake a small cake, taste it, make some changes to the recipe, bake another cake, and repeat the process until you're happy with the result. As you can see, we've got a diagram here where we're looking at several different prototypes and looking at which solution would work the best. Rather than just a cascading following a recipe, we've got different solutions going on at different times, and we'll try and work out which one would be the best. So in terms of the spiral model, a benefit might be the spiral model helps catch mistakes early because it lets you test and fix parts of the project as you go along. Okay, but a drawback, it can take a long time and be complicated because you have to keep going through cycles of planning, building, and testing. Okay, so we've got a benefit there, we've got a drawback. Okay, 2 marks. Next, explain what is meant by pair programming and identify which software development method uses it. Well, pair programming is like doing your homework with a friend. Basically, you're working as part of a team, a 2-man team, a pair. 2 people work together on writing computer code. Okay, one person writes the code while the other checks it and helps come up with ideas. They switch roles often. Okay, there's probably going to get 3 marks for that bit. Paired programming is often used in a way of working called agile. Okay, where flexibility and teamwork are important. And finally, a company needs to create a new data management system in a short timescale. They don't know what all the requirements of the system will be yet, as their business service is evolving. State which software development cycle would be most suitable for the company to use. Justify your choice. And we're talking about either the waterfall method or the agile method. Okay, so let's have a think about this. Imagine you have a big project to finish quickly. Well, we do have. And you're not sure what exactly it should look like, because things keep changing. It's like trying to build a car while the design keeps getting updated. In this case, using the agile development cycle would be like having a super flexible plan. Instead of trying to figure out everything all at once, you can work on small parts of the project at a time. This way, if something changes, you can easily adjust without having to start all over again. I've put here 6 points. It is worth 6 marks. I've put 6 points. Here are 6 points to explain why spiral agile model is the best choice. Well, flexibility. Agile lets you adapt to changes quickly. Just like changing lanes in traffic, you can adjust your plan as needed without causing a big disruption. Step by step, it's like climbing a ladder 1 run at a time. With Agile, you break the project into small steps, so it's easier to manage and less overwhelming. We're basically chunking the project. Feedback. Imagine showing your work to a friend who gives you tips to make it better. Agile encourages regular feedback so you can improve your project along the way. And collaboration. Like working on a group project at school, Agile involves teamwork. Everyone shares ideas and works together to reach the goal faster. Customer satisfaction. Agile focuses on delivering what the customer needs. It's like making a customized birthday cake. You can adjust the flavor and decorations to make sure it is just right for that particular customer. Continuous improvement. Agile is like practicing basketball. The more you play, the better you get. By constantly refining your work, you can make it the best it can be. Okay, so 6 steps there that should help you get 6 marks for this particular question. Question 20. So a 1 mark question, define what is meant by a programming paradigm. A programming paradigm. Well, a programming paradigm is like a style or method of playing a video game. Okay, it's a set of rules and strategies that game players use to win. Okay, but how does that equate to programming? Well, in computer programming, a programming paradigm is a set of rules and guidelines for writing code. Each paradigm has its own way of organizing and structuring code. kind of like how different games have different rules. Okay, so basically it's a set of rules, policies for writing that particular code. So question 22 for 4 marks this time, explain what is meant by the procedural programming paradigm. Well, again, I've broken this down into 4 parts, but what is it? Well, I've used an analogy again. Imagine you're following a recipe to bake cookies. You start by gathering all the ingredients and tools, the utensils you need. Then you go step by step through the recipe, mixing ingredients, shaping the dough, and baking the cookies. Procedural programming is a bit like that. It's a way of writing code where you break down a problem into smaller steps, just like following a recipe. Here are 4 points, for 4 marks, to explain procedural programming. Okay, so step-by-step approach. Procedural programming involves breaking down tasks into smaller, more memorable steps. It's like following a set of instructions in order to complete a task, similar to following a recipe to baking cookies. Basically, decomposition. Decomposition. Focus on procedures. In procedural programming, the main focus is on procedures or functions. These are like mini programs within the main program that perform specific tasks. For example, in our cookie recipe analogy, mixing the ingredients or shaping the dough would be an individual procedure. Even gathering the ingredients and then gathering the utensils, a separate procedure. A sequential execution. Procedures are executed in a specific order, one after the other. It's like following the steps of a recipe in the correct sequence to ensure that the cookies turn out right. Rather than jumping ahead or skipping steps, we're doing it step by step. Sequential execution. And then finally, this is important, reusable and modularity. Procedural programming promotes the reuse of code by breaking it into smaller reusable procedures. It's like having a collection of reusable cookie dough recipes that you can use to make different types of cookies. This makes the code easier to manage and maintain. Okay, so there would be 4 points there to answer question 22. 3 1-mark questions and a 3-mark question. Object-oriented programming. Question 23. State what is meant by a class. A class is like a blueprint or a template in programming. It defines the properties, attributes, and behavior methods that objects created from it will have. It's like a cookie cutter that shapes cookies into a specific form. That would be a class. Okay, a blueprint or a template in programming. Okay, so that's a class. What's an object? What is meant by the term object? Well, an object is a specific instant inside a class. It's like a cookie made using a cookie cutter. Objects have their own unique characteristics, attributes, and can perform actions, methods defined by their particular class. And this will become a little bit clearer in a moment. Explain what is meant by encapsulation. Well, encapsulation is like putting something in a box and sealing it shut. In programming, it's a way of bundling data, attributes, and methods functions together inside a class. This helps keep the data safe from outside interference and ensures that it can only be accessed and modified through the methods defined in the class. So state 3 things that are defined in a class diagram. So we've got attributes, which we've been mentioning throughout, methods, again mentioning throughout, and relationships. So an attribute, just to go over, these are the properties or characteristics of an object that represent the data that an object holds. For example, in a class diagram for a car, attributes could include things like color, make, and model. Methods, these are the actions or behaviors that objects of the class can perform. They represent the functions of the operation that can be applied to the object's data. For instance, in a class diagram for a car, methods could include starting the engine, accelerating the car, and braking. Okay, these are the methods. And then relationship, and I'm going to use the car analogy again, these show how classes are related to each other. This could include the inheritance, where one class inherits attributes and methods from another, association, where classes are connected in some way, and composition, where one class is made up of other classes. So I'll give you an example. In a class diagram for a car rental system, there might be a relationship between the car class and the customer class, showing basically which cars the customers can rent. So that would get us the 3 marks there. We're stating, so we could just put the 3 words down: attributes, methods, and relationships. Okay, now we've got to create some diagrams. So first of all, create a class diagram to show what a class could look like for a bank account. Well, let's have a little look at this. I've a very, very basic diagram. I've got a bank account, and within the bank account, within the first step, I've got the account number. which is an integer, probably an 8-digit bank account number if you come from the UK. Balance, which is a float, so a decimal number. And then deposit, yeah, we can deposit money again, which is a float, a decimal, and we can withdraw a decimal number, and we can get a balance, which of course would be a decimal number, okay, based on the balance that's up here. So that's what's in our bank account, and that's what we can do. We deposit, withdraw, and get a balance for that particular account. Okay, so the class bank account is now a parent class. So this becomes a parent class. It has two child classes of current account and savings account. Expand and adapt your class diagram to include the child classes. Okay, so I've done this like so. So I've got my bank account, as you saw before, but now I've just put in current account underneath and savings account underneath. And basically we've got an overdraft limit, I think we'd include in there, which would be a float, and a withdrawal amount from the current account. And then here a savings account where we've got an interest rate, okay, all linked into this, and then a calculate interest, which we'd use as well. So there would be my my child classes, the current account and the savings account. I'm just looking at things we could do within these two accounts, okay? So that would give us the marks there. Hopefully that would give us 10 marks. So yeah, the parent and two child classes. Okay, and then for 1 mark, the parent class has a method to calculate interest. This method is overwritten in the child class for the savings account if the customer has a variable rate of interest applied. State what this is an example of. Well, it's an example of method overriding. Okay, so to try and break this down a little bit more, it means that the child class, savings account, has a method with the same name as the one in the parent class bank account, but it has different functionality specific to the child class. In this case, a calculate interest method in the savings account class overwrites a calculate interest method in the bank account class to accommodate the variable interest rate for savings account. Okay, so child classes could overwrite the parent class. Okay, to finish off with, we're going to talk about assembly language, machine code, and we're going to use the Little Man computer as an example. The Little Man computer, and you can access this if you search Little Man computer on Google, you would get an instruction set such as this. We've got the mnemonics, which are 3 digits, and these are basically shorthand for the different instructions that you can do within the program. Okay, so add is add, subtract, store, load, branch always, branch if 0, branch if positive, input, output, end program, and data location. Okay, this is an instruction set for the Little Man computer. So here we go. State where data is initially stored before it is fetched into the CPU. Okay, well, it's an easy one. This one, I'll chop off Little Man's head. Data is initially stored in the memory, okay, before it is fetched into the CPU. You should know that from von Neumann diagrams and various other bits and bobs. Stored in the memory. Okay, explain the function of the LDR, the load command, okay, for 2 marks. Well, the LDR, the load accumulator command in the Little Man computer, LMC, Little Man computer, is used to load a value from a specific memory address into the accumulator. The accumulator is a special register in the CPU where arithmetic and logical operations take place. So when you use the LDA command, you're essentially telling the computer to take a value from a certain memory location and put it into an accumulator so that it can be used for calculations or other operations. Okay, the load accumulator. Okay, and that would get you 2 marks. Finally, for question 32, write a program for a Little Man computer that will loop 5 times, outputting a value each time that is stored in a location named B. After it's looped 5 times, it outputs a value stored in a location named A and stops. Okay, so here is my code. I've tried to comment it as best I can all the way through. So, and there's a little note here because you've got ORG 100. So this is the origin address. So I've started at 100. So I've loaded the value from memory location B into the accumulator. Output the value stored in the accumulator. Okay, sub 1, subtract 1 from the accumulator. STAB, store the updated value back into the memory location at B. BRZ, end loop. If the value in the accumulator is 0, go to end loop. Otherwise, go back to the beginning of the loop. Okay, once it's gone to end loop, LDAA, we're going to load the value from memory location A into the accumulator, output the value stored in the accumulator, halt the program HLT. Okay, and then origin address and 200. I've got B.5, initialize memory location B with value of 5, and then origin address 300. Initialize memory location A with a value of 10. Okay, and then origin 400, 1.1, initialize memory location 1 with a value of 1. So that's a nice little program, maybe I'm a little bit overboard. I'm showing you basically how. I wouldn't want to write in this, it's horrid. I mean, it's quick, but it's quite horrid. I mean, once you know the instruction set, you'll be okay. But this is basically almost like a shorthand version of programming. Yeah, an instruction set. Yeah, as basically using an assembly language. So what have we done? After it has looped 5 times, yep, it outputs a value stored in location A and then it stops. Okay, so there's a nice little program to answer that question. Okay, so there's a nice little program to basically demonstrate to you with comments how we could use this kind of assembly language, these instruction sets in our Littlemand computer program. Okay, that is it for this. That's part 2 over and done with. Join me next time for video 3 where we'll be looking at exchanging data. Until then, thank you very much indeed for watching. Bye for now. Please continue to ask questions, leave your comments, hit notifications, and please subscribe. And finally, if you wish to buy me a coffee, I'd be truly grateful. Please visit buymeacoffee.com/learning zone. Thank you very much indeed. See you next time. Bye for now.